Howdy, y'all. It's Curious Raven on this Thursday. I hope y'all are having a great day. Today we have 7 haunted house stories. Please enjoy. Number 1. As I age, I often find myself recounting my paranormal encounters from my youth. I have a hard time explaining some of these occurrences, but I would say I lean more towards being skeptical now. I also don't share a lot of my stories for 2 reasons. I don't want to sound crazy, and weird things happened when I talk about them. However, there are 2 instances of seeing blue children that I have found no evidence for online or IRL. The first ghost I remember seeing was a blue girl. She always made me feel uncomfortable when she showed herself. It wasn't her presence that was disturbing, but rather the constant luring by her. Let me explain. As a child, I spent many nights with extended family. My godmother's apartment in particular always freaked me out. She notoriously slept on her couch every night, leaving me with a queen bed all to myself. She would leave the door open to her room in case I got fussy and needed to check on me. Directly past the bedroom door was a hallway which had a built-in cabinet. I vividly remember many nights where the door to the cabinet would open by itself on one of the shelves. Looked like a blue girl laying down and staring directly at me. She wouldn't say anything, but rather signaled with her index finger to come here. I never did because, what the fuck, that's terrifying for a 7-year-old. I was not interested in whatever she had planned and would just throw the blanket over my head until I fell asleep. I pushed that down for many years and chalked it up to being an overactive imagination. That was until nearly a decade later I saw 2 more blue children. I was watching my grandparents' house while they were out of town. I was a little scared because another paranormal encounter I had experienced years before at their house. But I was old enough to control my racing mind. As I walked upstairs to go to bed, I heard little footsteps running around the corner and down the hall. I don't have the best vision, but I know what I saw. It was a little blue girl with dark, long hair. She had ran and hid behind a large vase in the hallway. As she popped her head out, I saw another blue child behind her, this time a smaller boy with dark hair. They giggled and waved. I still get shivers from that. I ran into my room and bolted the door. Never saw anything like that again. Anyways, has anyone else had an experience with a blue ghost spirit jinn children? I'm really at a loss because I don't know of anyone else who had seen something like this. Number 2. I don't even know where to begin. Basically, my girlfriend and I recently have been experiencing some weird activity on our property. It started out with just something moving, noises, tapping on the window, strange noises outside. We own around 40 acres and have farm animals. Weird things have been happening, such as last night she locked the door to the house, and this morning it was unlocked and open. Previously, if one of us is home alone, the door will open on its own. The house is separated from the barn by about 100 yards to lay reference. We've had rabbits and chickens and cats out there. We were attempting to breed rabbits for about a year with no luck, and the only time we ever had babies, we brought them into the house because it was too hot for them outside. But with multiple different pairings outside, nothing. Then, the same thing with a cat we have. Outside, she never got pregnant with multiple boys that were there, so we assumed she was fixed as we were given her as an adult, and inside she immediately gets pregnant. Today, something was chasing our horses around the pasture. They were very clearly running from something, and there was nothing there. There's been more weird things. These are just the ones I'm remembering right now. We'll update as I remember more. Number 3. Something strange has been happening in my apartment. I'm very skeptical with the paranormal, but I grew up on a reservation, surrounded by events like this, but after years of living a pretty normal life, I'm stumped at this. My brothers and I live together, and at around 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., according to them, something rattles the door or pushes against it. I'll explain the door incident itself literally. Put yourself against a door, and you'll hear your clothing make contact and kind of whoosh sound it makes. You'll also hear the hinges creak and a bit when you press against it. That's what my brothers told me a while back, and I just laughed at them saying there's no ghost here and knock it off. One of them told me he held the door against an invisible force, while the other was in shock and disbelief staring at him. I could tell they were scared, so I told them to wake me up so I can confront them, because I always assume these somebody lurking waiting to rob us. 2 days ago, I went to heat up leftovers and the door shook and the handle rattled. I walked over, angry, and opened the door wide open, and nothing was there. There's a staircase that goes up and leads outside, but it is literally impossible to run up those stairs with no noise in that short a time and close both the door and screen door without a noise. There are no nook or crannies to be found. I've looked for hidden crawl spaces, windows, doors, etc., and nothing came up. There has never been incidents with the wind doing this, nor a change in pressure. Something pressed itself against the door literally 3 hours ago, and a scratch mark was left on it. Being Lakota is to accept that these things happen and ceremony must take place, but I am not traditional. Each scenario is equally terrifying. On one hand, there's the possibility of a person playing some elaborate prank on us, or something followed us home while visiting family. Number 4. So I'm very new to this subreddit. I only joined 20 minutes ago and I was just reading some stories. So I've decided to share my own story. In my house, I live right next door to my grandparents' house. I've been told that at least 2 to 3 people have died in their house, so I believe that their spirits may have been transferred into my house. Either something that was brought over, such as old clothing or anything, because for the past few months, really weird things have been happening. I was eating my dinner once and the sink's tap just flicked up and turned on by itself. I've also noticed that when I'm gone, some objects are moved and some lights are turned on. Objects fall, and I believe I've seen an apparition, although it was dark and I could be wrong. I also hear strange noises coming from the house, like someone is hitting the walls or possibly kicking furniture, but it could be the house settling. So let me know what you think. I'm not quite sure, so I decided just to ask you. Number 5. There was this one time I had to go and get the food my uncle was preparing. It was around 12 to 1 a.m. midnight. It was just a normal late night for me. So I got to my uncle's and waited for the food, while also staring at the main doorstep. They always turn the lights off, causing this particular place to appear pitch black. My uncle had returned and gave me the food. I thanked him, and I saw my grandma still on the doorstep. I called her, but she just walked outside. My uncle asked why did I call her, and I answered, I just saw her. Why is she still outside? My skin crawled when he said Grandma was already in her room sleeping. I didn't help but ask him who I saw. He shrugged and answered, "Stop scaring yourself." And he stayed calm the rest of the night to prevent me from freaking out. I know he too sometimes sees something because that house is known for being haunted, and even my grandma can see the apparitions. She sees a girl and a man, and sometimes a woman dressed in a gown. I haven't seen an actual ghost, only shadows, but the experience still freaks me out like I'm actually seeing a real one. Number 6. This happened a while ago, but sometimes I still can't stop wondering what it was. We moved into a new house while I was pregnant in 2016, and I had my baby. I started getting strong smell that would linger for a minute or two. It was a very pleasant smell of cologne. Not anything my spouse or I had. It would only last for a bit and disappear, but it happened randomly, while taking out the garbage, while cooking dinner. When my son turned 2, he would randomly play and then look at the door and get so scared and cry and scream and say there is a man standing there. When we would go to sleep, he wouldn't fall asleep or lay down because he said there's a man standing next to my bed. He would be so terrified. It would happen 2 to 3 times per month. Sometimes wouldn't happen for several months. It never happened when my spouse was at home. My son loved going to daycare and hated coming home because he would say, "No, mean man at daycare. Man only home. He is not nice." One day, when I was home alone with my son, my friend and her daughter stopped by to pick something up. They had no idea about anything going on in the house. Her daughter was about 3 at the time. While we were chatting, the girl went to get a toy and from a different room started screaming there. She said there's a man standing watching her play, and she ran out and had to leave. She was terrified. Then it would stop for a few months, then start again. This man would appear in the mirror for my kid, randomly appear in the closet where I would get dressed. Is this all their imagination? Why didn't this happen when my spouse was home? Then it suddenly stopped when he was about 4. We never spoke about it. Strong smell also disappeared for me. What was this? Let's just say a ghost. How can he just come and go every month? And if it was in fact some ghost, did he actually leave or the kids just don't see him any longer? Sometimes I keep going back to those days and I'm so confused what that was all about. It was terrifying. Number 7. Hope this finds you all well. Started last night. Took my dog outside to go to the bathroom via the patio door to the backyard. When I went back to take him inside, the door was locked. Went to take her out again later at night. We have a motion sensor light that is pretty sensitive and will trigger to things as small as bunnies running across the yard. I went to the edge of the deck, and as soon as I touched the steps, the light turned off. And it wouldn't turn back on until I walked back up to the door where the light is. Tonight my wife was at home with our black lab, and the dog started barking at her with its hair raised on her back, like agitated, warning her to move. She's barked before when she wants to play, but this was different, and then my wife had a feeling or dread come over her. When she went into the kitchen, there was dog food spread across the floor. The bin was all locked up in its usual place and not near where the food was. She's now parked outside my work with the dog waiting for me to get done. Any advice or ideas? We purchased this house just over 2 years ago and haven't had any problems at all. House was built in 2002 in a newer suburb. Alright everyone, that is the end of our collection today. I hope y'all enjoyed. I still feel like I'm trying to get back into the narrating flow from not narrating for 2 weeks. But no, I love y'all very, very much. And I will see y'all on Saturday for creepypasta. But until then, remember, it's scary out there. Please like and subscribe.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross